so am I getting rid of the 2024 Toyota Tacoma and maybe going back to the 3rd gen or even something else? We're going to get into that in just a second. We're sitting in the 24 Tacoma right now, so obviously nothing has been done yet. But what am I talking about? Well, first of all, let me say I am a bit disappointed. You know, my ultimate goal in getting a 2024 Tacoma was to get into the hybrid version, right? The most powerful, most recent, most up-to-date truck I could get in the Tacoma line. I bought this 2024 Turbo 4. It is a sport, non-hybrid. It's kind of a bridge truck. I mean, that was my thinking, you know, kind of in between, with no real timeline to get into the hybrid other than maybe at some point this year or early next year in 2025. Now, I have a rule. I have a set limit as to what I will spend on any mid-size truck. And that, as I've mentioned before in live streams and normal videos, is $50,000. I will not spend over $50,000 on any mid-size truck. I just think, for me, the value in it, in going over that amount, is simply not there. I'm not going to do it. Now, what does that mean? Well, I was just looking the other day at pricing on the hybrids, and I think this is probably a more mid to low price, and it was over $60,000. That was for a TRD Sport. I believe it was an off-road, I think. Over $60,000. Obviously, that blows away my $50,000 limit, right? Because with that little over $60,000 price, you also have to throw in tax and tags and title. I mean, you're going to be looking at probably $63,000 to $65,000, probably more like $65,000, to get into that hybrid Tacoma. I think that's absurd. Now, is it absurd for Toyota? I don't know. I haven't experienced one. I don't have one, so I don't know if they can justify the price of that truck by something that they're doing. I don't know. By the way, the warranty on the battery for that truck, I believe, was 120,000 miles, 10 years, or I'm sorry, it was 120 months, which is 10 years, or 150,000 miles, whichever comes first. Not a bad warranty for the hybrid battery system, but certainly not enough to justify $65,000 for that truck. I think it's just absurd. So what am I going to do then? Am I going to go to a different brand? Am I going to go buy a Colorado or I don't know, a Ford Ranger or something like that? No, I'm not doing that. I am a Tacoma guy. I've had the other brands before, and the reason I don't have one now and I never went back to them is because I was disappointed in them. I used to have a Chevy S10. I know, they don't make them anymore. That dates me a bit. I've ridden in some of the other Chevy trucks, the Colorado, the GMC stuff, whatever. They're nice enough, but they feel very industrial to me. I don't know what it is. It's like the Ford F-150. It's a very industrial, hard-feeling truck. I guess I like my trucks a little bit softer. So they turned me off. The Ford Rangers that I had, they were like lumber wagons, man. And I drove a recent one, although it has been a few years. And I was very disappointed in the acceleration, the turbo, in that it was a 4-cylinder. I didn't like anything about it except for one thing, the way that the doors shut. I will say that truck had quality doors because it was a nice thud when you shut the door. But if that's the only thing Ford is doing right, I don't know, not for me. So, since I am not going to go to a different brand, I'm not going to jump ship, what does that mean for me with the Tacoma? Well, we have this Tacoma. Again, it's a 2024 TRD Sport. It is the 2-wheel drive. I don't need a 4-wheel drive. So the plan is to keep this truck for a long-term review of it, if you will. How does it do? Will the naysayers out there prove me wrong in that they're right and the 4-cylinder turbo sucks? that it's just not going to be quality, it's not going to be reliable. We shall see. We're going to keep this truck. We're going to do what I do with it. Now, does that mean that it's going to be beaten off road or anything like that? No, it's not what I do. If you watch the channel for the last 6 years or whatever it is, it's not what I do. I just can't see spending, in this case, a little over 40 grand for a new truck and then taking it off road and beating the hell out of it. It just doesn't make sense to me. If you're going to do that, I would buy a late model truck, something that you didn't spend a fortune on, that maybe doesn't have as much tech in it. You know, the more tech they put in anything, obviously jarring it around, beating it off road, things come loose. It's like driving around on a computer, right? I mean, you're not going to take your laptop and throw it around everywhere and expect it to continue working properly. I think it's the same thing with modern trucks today, and not just the Tacoma, every other one out there. You know, it reminds me of a story, not Tacoma related really, but it was a truck, 4x4, it was a Jeep Gladiator. Some rocket scientist bought that truck, took it out, and sunk it in a mud hole. Water was coming up to the door areas, right? Well, that means then that water was over the engine areas too, right? And there were problems. The truck wouldn't work anymore. So they tried, I think they tried to sue Jeep or Stellantis, whoever owns them these days, trying to say that the truck failed, it was their fault, it should be covered under warranty. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, when you do things that are obviously beyond the scope of the piece of equipment, in this truck, the Gladiator that you're using, that's on you. That's not on them. And I think there's even a disclaimer with a lot of 4x4s or trucks in general that state how much water you can drive into before you could have a problem. And what they're really doing there is covering the warranty, right? Because they know what people are going to do, and you can't do those things and still expect to have warranty. So anyway, no, I'm not getting rid of my Tacoma. I'm not jumping ship, but I'm also not getting a hybrid because I'm not spending $65,000 on a mid-size truck. People think it's absurd what they're charging for the regular 4-cylinder turbo Tacomas. They got to be going out of their minds with the pricing on these hybrids. And what I'm going to be interested to see is how Toyota does with sales. I mean, are people really going to be willing to pay that kind of money for a hybrid Tacoma when they can't even seem to stomach a 4-cylinder turbo? I doubt it, but I could be wrong. We shall see. Anyway, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Would you pay that kind of money for a hybrid Toyota Tacoma, or just keep what you've got? I'd be curious to know. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.